Venite con noi a bella Verona. We're going to cover a bunch of things today. We're going to show you Verona. We're going to give you some history, the Roman history of Verona, or Verona Romana. Where we'll talk about where we live and where we study and where we work and when we spend a lot of our time, where we spend a lot of our time when we're there for Opera Viva. Of course, mangiamo. We're going to show you what we eat while we're there. We'll talk about opera in L'Arena. We'll give you a glimpse at some of the student performances that and the beautiful locations we get to perform, the beautiful venues we have. And then we'll sort of explain where Verona is in the geography of Italy and what is within, a short train ride away. And so some of the things that students do on the weekends during their free time. So without further ado, let me advance to the next slide. Let's start with exploring the city on a morning walk.
So as you can see on the map, the residence is, you can see on the left-hand side. So it's a little bit away from where the Centro Storico, as they call it, the historic center is, and where the L'Arena is. However, you can both walk it, and you can take a bus into the historic center. Piazza Erbe is a wonderful piazza that, lots of places to eat, places to shop, and just hang out. And L'Arena, of course, is where we see the operas. This is what is called the Santuario, and it's a beautiful old building that you kind of have to hike up to, but you can see it from many parts of the city, and so we often see it on our walks. I have hiked up to that. It's certainly doable, but you have to be, prepared for that. And so what I wanted to show you is this is the Duomo from that structure up the Santuario. So you get beautiful views when you hike up there. And then this is the Duomo from the riverside. So as we leave the residence, cross one bridge, and then keep walking, take a left and follow the river on what I would consider the left side. And then you see the Duomo, one of the 3 or 4 main churches. I mean, there are many churches. That's one of them.
There are over 250 churches.
Right. Oops. Okay, the Ponte Pietra, one of my favorite places ever. It's one of the oldest bridges in the city, and this is the view. Okay, so the Teatro Romano, which I think Bob will be talking about. So the Teatro, you can walk up the steps of the Teatro and again see some gorgeous views of the city. And this is the view of the Ponte Pietra, the Bridge of Stone. And it's only a walking bridge. You can't drive, as far as I know, you can't drive on it. And it's a wonderful place to stroll and getting your gelato on either side or both sides, because there are places on both sides. Again, another favorite place, the Giardino Giusti. And what's kind of cool about this place is it's a very ornate garden that you can walk through. And one of its claims to fame is that apparently Mozart strolled this garden some, years ago. So another great place to visit. Of course, L'Arena. This is in the early morning sun, or morning sun. I forget what hour this was taken. All right, Richard. Usually on our second afternoon or third afternoon, we have a walking tour with Richard, a longtime colleague of Madeline's. Madeline, do you want to say just one word about meeting Richard?
Well, Richard Collins is the owner of the Language Institute, where we hire our teachers for our daily language classes. But his father lived in Vicenza, was quite a famous historian. Mm-hmm. And so I got to know his father when we lived there. And then I got to know Richard as well. But He's
Yeah.
great. He's so knowledgeable about
Knowledgeable.
every bit of history in Italy. Yeah.
So
I
we're
went to high
lucky.
school with him. So
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot that.
It's all family. Anyway, Richard has quite the interesting perspective on the city of Verona and Italy in general. So it's a fascinating walk with him. Then there's the Castelvecchio Bridge. So assuming we were already at the Arena for the opera, then you can cross over the Castelvecchio Bridge, another famous structure. Beautiful. People take pictures on it all the time, and great views of the river on both sides. And so, speaking of views, that's it's like a view from one of the little windows out onto the river. This is another, again, as if we were walking back on the other side, and that is the San Giorgio, right? Or the church with the dome. We had one of our concerts there.
San Giorgio in Baida.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And yes, go ahead.
Sorry.
Another view. Let's see. Again, it's like walking back, or having walked back and looking back at the bridges.
And we on our walks, morning, evening, whenever, there are so many opportunities to take photos, as you've said, Lisa. So I just had to throw this one in here.
Of course.
Hey. We had to take an Ussie.
Yes.
When was that? Boy, my hair was pretty short. What I love about the walks, though, is when we go into the center of Verona, the city is just waking up. So right. All the delivery men are showing up, and all the places are opening their doors, and you just hear the clanking of the dishes in the cafes. It's just beautiful to just see Verona waking up. I love that. Well, I think we're ready to invite our guest speaker, Madeline, if you can tell him, please. I will relinquish my seat to the gentleman of the house.
Do some history of the Roman history of Verona. Everyone, please meet Bob Gerhardt, who is such a big part of the
Ciao, tutti.
Bob,
let me introduce myself. I'm Bob Gerhardt. I'm the executive assistant to the artistic director of Opera Viva, and Madeline's right-hand man for the last 44 years. I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about the historic portion of Verona. I love history. I studied history for probably all my life, and particularly military history, since I was in the Army Corps of Engineers for 25 years and a graduate of West Point, and I studied history there. But let me tell you a little bit about the historic Verona. Well, the most important part about Verona, it's situated at the foot of the Dolomite, or the Dolomiti Mountains, or the Italian Alps, right on the River Adige. The city was founded by the Romans in about 89 BC. Although it was established before that, it was given municipal structure by the Romans in about 89 BC, and it flourished under the Romans in the first through the 3rd centuries. And then it went to decline a little bit, and then it became flourished into the Scaligeri family in the 13th and 14th centuries, went into decline after that. And then it flourished as part of the Roman Republic in the 15th to 18th centuries. And the most important part about Verona is a lot of its antiquities have been preserved. And not only preserved, but actually in use, as you'll see about the Arena. Verona was important to the Roman Empire because it was located on a ford on the Adige River, which allowed access to the north. And it was at the intersection of 4 roads. The Roman Empire was famous for its roads, and that's why they were so successful. That and their legions, of course. And the roads from Verona went west to Spain, went north to Germany, went east to the Adriatic and Greece and beyond, and of course south to Rome. The Roman legions would march from Rome up to Verona, and they would resupply. It was a huge resupply base. And it's kind of interesting as an aside, a little bit about Verona. Part of the resupply was they'd have their horses, and their horses would be worn out after about 3 or 4 weeks of marching and riding. So they get to Verona, they'd turn in their old horses, get their new mounts, and what would they do with their old horses? Well, they'd feed the troops. And in fact, today in Verona, a delicacy is horse meat. And if you go down to the various marketplaces, you have to be careful of whether or not you buy beef or horse meat, etc. But the Veronese love horse meat, not so much meat. So I'm going to talk about some historical remains of the Roman era and some other eras, there's a lot of them there, but I'm only going to mention a few. First is the Porta Bassari, which is a Roman gate that was built in the 2nd century. This is the arena, but this is the Porta Bassari. It's built of marble. It was the main gate to the city at the time of the Romans in the 1st and 2nd century. When they closed the gate at night, at sunset was the curfew. They closed the gate, you couldn't go in. You had to stay outside all night until they opened up the gates at sunset the next morning. Also, the necropolis, or the place where they buried the dead, was outside the city and right outside this gate. Now, this gate is called the Porta Bassari for one main reason. Borsa in Italian means purse. And the Porta Bassari was also the main tax collecting place for the people that came in and out of the city. Their goods were taxed, and so they paid the taxes right there. And Borsa means purse, and that's why the Porta Bassari. Also, the next, it's kind of interesting, you've heard the phrase, all roads lead to Rome. Well, if in fact, in the Roman era, you walked out this gate, out of the city, and you started walking south, the road went directly to Rome, went straight to Rome. You didn't have to get off the road. You could go straight to Rome after about 3 or 4 weeks of walking. All right, the next structure I want to talk about is the Ponte Pietra, which is the stone bridge. And Lisa mentioned this before. We walk over this many times. This is the view from the northern side of the city into the city. This was built by the Romans in the 1st century BC. I mean, 1st century CE, or about the year 30 or 40. And it was only one of 2 major stone bridges that crossed the Adige River in Verona, the Roman bridges. We still walk on it today. Those stones are from the Roman era. And in fact, one of my favorite, you'll find in my presentation that I refer to a lot of these things as something that has something to do with eating, because one of my favorite gelaterias is right on the other side of this bridge, just inside the city walls. Lisa mentioned about the Teatro Romano, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was built in the 1st century. It seated about 5,000 people. And this is just a portion of what the ancient theater looked like. They have a beautiful museum there, and has a reproduction of the original arena, teatro, and it's a really beautiful museum. You can see all kinds of antiquities in the museum. The museum puts on famous plays every summer, and most of them are some of them are based on Shakespeare's plays, because, of course, we know Shakespeare wrote at least 3 of his plays about Verona. 2 of the most famous are the 2 Gentlemen of Verona, of one of which am I, and then of course Romeo and Juliet, and you can see the productions there each summer. At the heart of Verona, for the local Veronese, is Piazza Erbe. Now, this is located at the site of the original Forum. Every major Roman city had a forum, which means it was the marketplace and the place to meet and talk about politics and whatever else. And this is the site of the original Forum in Verona. It has a beautiful fruit and vegetable market. People go down there and eat in the restaurants and just enjoy the view and the ambiance. And Richard Collins mentioned to us that he actually owned an apartment on this piazza. He said the bad part about owning the apartment was you couldn't change the apartment because it was considered historical. So he ended up selling that apartment and moving elsewhere, at least moving out. But it's a beautiful piazza, very vibrant, day and night. And oh, by the way, Madeline buys her favorite olive bread from a nearby Pontificio, right around the corner of Piazza Erbe, an important landmark. And you walk a little bit from the Piazza Erbe is Piazza dei Signori. This is called the Piazza of the People, and As Richard Collins reminds us during his guided tour, piazzas are the places where people go to sit quietly and observe the world, and mostly people watch. You'll see a large statue of Dante Alighieri in the middle of the piazza. That was put in quite a bit later after the piazza was first built. The Romans, the Veronese, have actually petitioned to have it removed because they think it detracts from the serenity of the piazza. They love Dante, but they love their serenity and their piazzas more, obviously. And it's kind of interesting. Right across, you'll see in the view there's a ristorante there that has some of the best pizza in all of Verona. One of my favorite places, of course. All right, let's go on to the most famous Roman monument in all of. Let me talk about the Scarigli family. Verona was ruled by the Scarigli family in the 13th and 14th centuries. As a matter of fact, you'll see on the ironwork in the right portion of the screen, you'll see a ladder. Well, as a matter of fact, the family crest of the Scarigli family was the ladder, and the word for ladder in Italian is scala. And you're going to see there's going to be a interesting attachment or a vignette about the Scarigli family. As a matter of fact, they ruled with an iron hand sometimes. Congrande the first was a patron of Dante and Giotto and of the arts, and they married one of their daughters over to the Duke of Milan as part of a political move. She moved to Milan, but she was a little homesick for Verona. So the Scarigli family built a chapel exactly like their Verona chapel in the heart of Milan. And I guess that satisfied her because she was happy after that. Unfortunately, many years later, the chapel burned down. Well, the Milanese, the people from Milan, they said, well, let's see, we don't need another chapel. So we're going to build an opera house on the site of the burned down chapel. And they named the opera house La Scala. And hence the connection between Verona and Milan. All right, so we'll go on to the next one. The next site, this is the Castelvecchio. It's actually Castelvecchio Bridge, and you'll see a portion of the Castelvecchio on the other side of it. The old castle, it was built in the 13th and 14th century by the Scarigli family. The people from Verona say, well, they have a tremendous castle there, but most of the ramparts are on the side of the city. So they had to protect themselves not only from foreign invaders, but their own people as well, because they weren't, exactly that loved. They ruled with an iron fist most of the time when they were ruling Verona. But it's a beautiful structure. We walk across this bridge almost every day, probably 3 or 4 times a day in some cases. And it's a beautiful view, as Lisa mentioned, upriver and downriver. It's just a wonderful structure. Okay, so the next one. This is another view of the Castelvecchio Bridge. It has a rampart right in the middle of the river so that they can control the flow of boats up and down the river in times of distress. All right, next.
I think I didn't get that last picture.
Okay.
Sorry, Bob. So that's
okay. Well, I do want to talk about the arena.
Yeah. Oh, I'll go back to arena. Okay, I'll go back to arena.
Go back to the arena. There we go. Okay, so the arena is the most famous Roman monument in Verona. It was built in the year 10. Now, as Richard Collins reminds us, that wasn't 1910. That wasn't 2010. That wasn't 1810, 1710, et cetera, not even 1010. It was built in the year 10. It was the third largest amphitheater in the Roman world, the ancient Roman world. The largest, of course, was in the Colosseum, which Madeline reminds us is nothing much more than a home for feral cats now. And of course, Agua, which is Capua, which is the second largest. When it was first built, it had 3 tiers of arches. Unfortunately, in the year 1066, one of the tiers, the outside tier, fell down, and only a portion of it remains. When it was originally built, it would seat about 35,000 people, and now it seats about 25,000. It's interesting that the arena floor was built 2 meters below the surface of the land, and I'll tell you why in just a second. They also built a canal. The Romans had to get all this stone from the mountains, so they built a canal from the river down to the side of the arena and used that to transport all the stone that was used to face the structure. Most of it's brick, which is most Roman structures. And then it was faced by marble, and there's a lot of marble arches, etc. And also it helped to have the arena floor below the level of the ground, because basically the arena was to entertain the people, but more importantly to train young Romans to fight in the wars. So they would hold mock military battles here. They would flood the arena, build two ships, and actually have mock naval battles there, as well as gladiator games and equestrian events, circus, etc. The people would come. The original arena was built outside the city walls. The people would come from miles around, camp in the forest for 2 or 3 weeks, watch all the games, and then go back. Today, Piazza Bra, which is you'd be standing if you took this picture, is right outside the arena, and one of the oldest gelaterias, La Savona, is right next to the Piazza Bra, and we should all try that, or everyone should try that. It has the best semifreddo in the entire world. After the fall of the Roman Empire, Verona was conquered. It's basically a military stronghold. It was conquered by first the Goths, then the Lombards, then by Charlemagne of the Roman Empire, then by the Scaligeri family, then by Venice, then by Germany, then by France under Napoleon, then by the Austrians, and finally joined the Italian, the Kingdom of Italy in 1866. So that's, I hope everyone's enjoyed my brief history of the tour of history tour of Verona. It's a wonderful city. It's a vibrant city. It's an Italian city. You know, you go there and there's not a lot of tourists there. You're really immersed in the Italian culture, and it's a wonderful place to be. And if you get tired of the city, as Lisa mentioned, you can jump on the train. 40 minutes, you're in Venice. 2 hours, you're in Florence. An hour and 45 minutes in Milan. 2 hours, you're north in Austria. Actually, 2.5 hours, you're up in Austria. And if it gets a little warm in Verona, you just go up to the mountains and go hiking. It is a beautiful, wonderful place to be. I hope to see you all there.
All right. So let's keep going. And obviously, as you heard, Bob is just a wealth of knowledge about Verona and history and where to get the best gelato and olive bread, etc. So we'll map with all of those places. So if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the chat. I'm sure Bob will happily answer them. Let's move on then to where in the summers when Opera Viva assembles in Verona, where we base ourselves. So this is a picture of the residence. Remember the map that Lisa showed in the beginning. It's right beside the river on, I don't know if the left or the right side, I'm not sure what to call it, but it's 8 stories and it has, this is its entrance. It had the rooms, every room, every apartment, I shouldn't call them rooms, every apartment either faces this side, the entrance side, or the opposite side, which is the river side. Every apartment has a balcony, and their apartments are for singles, doubles, triples, etc. This is just a quick view of the inside of one of the apartments. They've been, at least half of them, more than half of them have recently been renovated and upgraded and remodeled, but they all have the same amenities. So you know they all have, there's beds, there's a kitchenette, there's baths, etc. So for the rooms that sleep 3, for example, there are 2 bedrooms, your own bath, and your own kitchenette with all the things you need to prepare your own meals. And there's a little shop, a grocery store called Migros, just 3 blocks down the street. You walk down to buy your food for your lunch or your dinner, and you're good to go. Or you just keep walking into the city and have a pizza in Piazza dei Signori.
And we only put 2 students in each apartment.
That's right. Sorry, that's our, yeah. We when you come, you'll have a roommate, and so there'll be 2 of you in a room to share.
In an apartment.
Okay. apartment. I don't know why I keep calling it. Okay. All right. So now, and Lisa, please chime in. So when you come, we always have a welcome pizza dinner, and there's just a few shots where, we're not going to pause necessarily on each picture and tell you what's going on, but we want to instantly form that Opera Viva community. So we commune around pizza, and we get to know each other, and we start up. Well, there you go. I mean,
lots of pizzas.
lots of pizza. Lots of pizza.
Different toppings.
Yeah, and we get to know each other. And here's a view of some of the classes that we do. So there's David. Many of you, well, you all met David yesterday, and many of you have had lessons with David. So there's one of David's staging classes. Here's Gordon. Gordon. This is Gordon doing some 18th century movement for the stage. We have a great, very popular course that Gordon teaches,
language of fans,
language of the fan, and what it means, the way you hold your fan. And so we spend a lot of time doing that. As you can see, we become quite proficient in communicating with a fan. As I said, it's about movement. It's about how an 18th century gentleman would comport himself and bow. We're all learning it, the men, and it looks like that is probably a girl playing a pence role there. Then we start to do our scenes rehearsals.
By the way, this is a shot of the scene of the Matrimonio Segreto trio. By the way, for the ladies who did the recit, this is a trio who did recit and the trio that follows it. It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot. It's one of my favorites. It's a favorite of Opera Viva. We do it quite a lot, and it's a lot of fun. This is
Falstaff.
Falstaff, definitely Falstaff.
And there, look, there's a guest appearance by Liz here today. Are you there, Liz? Say hi. Oh, there you are. There she is.
Ciao.
Liz, when did you come? 2018?
I was 2018, yes.
Okay, so there you are. And there's another, this is the same scene, right? Falstaff, okay. Here is the wonderful Joyce.
Yes, in action. In
action, doing some recit coaching. She does quite a lot of that throughout the 3 weeks. And there she also directs, conducts the scenes, both during rehearsals as well as in our performances, our concerts. Here is Filippo doing the recit class, so coaching class. There's Filippo. There's Madeline. We do a whole series. So it's a horrible picture. So it's a horrible picture. But because of the background, those curtains in the background and the light, the bright sun of Verona, it's probably 95 degrees in that room right now while Madeline is basically giving direction. We do a whole series around sacred music rep, and Madeline really spearheads that. So I'm sure that's what's going on there.
Must be, yeah.
Another scene, just so we have a bunch of shots of that. Oh, there's David again, really teaching that, that emotion. This is a movement exercise. Another voice lessons. We actually have a series of rooms of 4 voice lessons, which we equip with pianos for the duration of our program. So there are multiple lessons going on at any given time when we're not in class, and then and those rooms are available for you to use to practice, to rehearse when they are not scheduled for a lesson. And just another scene rehearsal. And then as Lisa mentioned, we also, or Madeline mentioned as well, every morning we begin with Italian class, and we have instructors from Richard Collins' school. His school is called In Lingua. So they come every morning, and we start the day with Italian lessons. And we actually, quite a few students who come are proficient in Italian. So this is sort of basic Italian. So it focuses on your language. It allows you to go out and order that pizza or that cappuccino, ask for a table in the restaurant, etc. And if you're more proficient, we often have little groups. We'll sit in the lobby of the residence with our cappuccinos, because there's a little barista there who can make cappuccino for you. you, and we will have more advanced dialogue so that everybody has a chance to practice Italian. So all of our lessons, it's probably worth it. We're all American, and American English, Italian, but we speak. Our lessons are in English, but except for the Italian class. But we want you for your 3 weeks to be comfortable walking up and ordering that olive bread at the panificio or ordering that pizza, etc. So that's one of the things that we do. And Lisa mentioned this, I think, right across the street from the residence, I think this is wrapping up this section, is a bus stop, and 2 bus routes pick up every 20 minutes. It is less than a 10-minute ride into the historic city center, and it's a 20-minute walk. 20-minute walk.
Not far.
Not far, safe, and 10-minute ride. So, you know, we're right there in the middle of everything.
And you can
It's
also
so convenient. When I go in, I'll walk in and then I'll do shopping, and that's when I feel like getting the bus home because I'll have a lot of packages and so on. But it's so nice to have the option. Then at night, it's so cool to walk by the river, and it's just it's so convenient.
the bus
But
also
it's quiet.
Yeah, the bus also takes you to the train station. So
Yes,
that's
right.
also important to know, because on the weekends when you want to take a train to either Venice or Milan or Sirmione or something like that, you can take our bus to get to the train station. So it's very convenient.
All right, well,
Mangiamo. What else do we do in Italia?
my gelato dish is empty.
Yeah, mine is empty too.
All right, but let's just whet your appetite a bit here with some things. Lisa, go
All
ahead.
right. Yeah, I'll start with this. Okay, so this is from our little pasticceria down the street, Vittorini, and it has fabulous. Those are cappuccini, of course, and oh my goodness, the the pastries are to die for, and that's just a small example of what's available at Vittorini. Risotto. This is the whole Veneto region is known for its risotti. And this one happens to be from a restaurant called Pane e Vino. Joyce, I think that was from the dinner we all had together.
Yeah, that's
and
the
this,
red Valpolicella
right,
risotto. Yeah.
the Amarone.
Amarone.
Amarone,
Yeah,
yeah, Amarone.
exactly. So
That's the Amarone one.
the
Oh,
risotto.
Gerardo.
Yeah, Gerardo.
So it's a risotto flavored with Amarone red wine, and wow, you want to check that out.
Yeah.
And this was from Cafe Montebaldo, also just right off of Piazza Erbe. I think that was the Mille Foglie or something like that. It was just incredible, the layers of vegetables and everything. Just delicious.
That's beautiful.
And Monica wanted to point out, look at, if you can see closely on that bowl, Residence Opera. So this was somebody's, pasta, ravioli, whatever it is that they made.
I think and we made this in my room. So I have the fresh ingredients, but of course those pizza.
Pizza. One of my favorite toppings ever, carciofi, the artichoke hearts, and that's probably prosciutto, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Madeline?
and
My
one of Madeline's
favorite.
favorites and mine. Yeah,
Prosciutto melone,
prosciutto melone.
cantaloupe, and the prosciutto, just delicious. Of course, it's Italy. It's pasta. Well, now,
Okay, now
Yeah.
get ready.
my favorite drink. Okay,
Ugo
the Ugo
Spritz.
Spritz,
Good spritz.
which is made from elderflower liqueur with prosecco and a little bit of sparkling water, mint, and green apple. So I highly recommend it.
Delicious. It is.
I'm going to trump your Ugo
Yeah.
with 2 Campari spritzes. So there you go. And there's a third spritz that people like, and that is what Jessica is holding here with me, the Aperol spritz. So we kind of go spritz crazy while we're there.
Another gelato. And
Amorino.
Amorino, which is right in Piazza Erbe. Lots of people go there. It's very easy and delicious.
Do you have a picture of the flowers, the rose shaped
I was just
ice
thinking.
cream?
I
I'm
was
sure we
just
do.
going to ask you
I
that.
was just
Yeah.
thinking about that, and I don't know if we do.
I couldn't find. I know that 3 days ago I had a picture of me holding my rose. They make a cone and they shape the gelato in shape of a rose.
Rose, yeah.
And I have a picture of it and I couldn't find it.
Anyway, as you can see,
Okay.
multiple flavors
Lots
of
of
gelato.
gelato, lots of gelato. There is gelateria. You can't walk a block without crossing a gelateria. We go out for gelato a lot, as you can see. So we love it. We love it. There's more. We do gelato a lot. We at the end of our session, we have a group dinner to celebrate what we've achieved in each session. So more than once, but this is a couple of years ago. Madeline's daughter Megan came over, and this is just one of the. This is kind of what is it? It's endless pizza at this pizzeria, Bella Napoli. And they just keep bringing the pizzas until we say stop. And this is some of the appetizers they bring, which looks like prosciutto melone, and then some grilled.
And grilled eggplant and zucchini.
Zucchini.
Yeah, and melanzane too.
And see, and there you can see there's all our students at one of our sessions, and there's one of the long pizzas on the board, and we just keep saying, oh, we would like one now with. But Madeline, what do you ask for?
I get it with extra cheese and black olives.
Black olives, right?
That's the Madeleine pizza.
It's a Madeleine pizza.
I mean, we take
which you
over
all
pretty much the
love.
room.
You thought it would be awful, then you try it and you love it.
No, I like prosciutto funghi better.
Yeah, Joyce likes prosciutto funghi. It's all good.
And we also, we're lucky Madeline treats us, the faculty, to a faculty dinner once during and so that's most of us, actually.
Yeah, I think we found the one where most of the faculty that you've met this week.
Yeah.
With David Adams at the back.
Right, David Adams.
And then a few of our new joiners weren't there this year, but next year we'll have this we'll need a bigger table.
That's
right.
All right. Now let's go back to La Arena.
So this is before the show starts. It's really fun to get there a little bit early, and so we can find, we usually get tickets in a section, and so it's not exactly the one seat. Well, it's not really a seat. We're on these benches that are 2,000 years old. So we often go in groups and kind of camp out. And Madeline, you should say something about the candle, because that tradition.
So after the war, when they started having operas in the arena again, they decided to start the season on Verdi's birthday. So they decided they would give out birthday candles in honor of Verdi. And before the first opera, everybody lit the candles. That was, in his honor. But then they just decided that they would always do it. And so now for, 100 years, how many years? So 17, over 100 years now. They've been lighting a candle. And so when you first go in, after you check your ticket, there's a big box of candles. And so you just take a candle and then right before, this is probably about 8:30 at night, and the show starts at like 9:15, and so it's already getting much darker before they start the opera. So then everybody lights the candles, and it's really beautiful. Just a lovely tradition.
And it's beautiful to sit there in the arena and look around. So the audience is basically filling up about 3/4 of the arena in the round. Quarter is reserved for the stage. And the stage, and we'll show you some pictures in a minute, I'm sorry, Joyce, I'm just going to mute you for, can you?
Yeah, I was just going to say, one of the things that is extremely uncomfortable sitting on the stone when it's been a very hot day.
Yes.
And they sell you cushions for about €3, but it's always a good idea to bring your own as well on top of that, because you'll need it. Otherwise, you're sitting in a sauna. It's kind of important.
That's right. The cushioni, that's right. Cushinis are important. That's right. You can bring your own. You can buy the souvenir ones outside of the doors of the arena, or you can rent them. And I think the funds from renting them go to charity, that kind of thing. But and it makes it tolerable because you are sitting on those marble steps. Exactly.
Right, because you are sitting on stone, literally.
Yeah. So yeah, here's just more pictures of before the opera starts. The opera starts. We tend to go in big groups. I mean, there's no assigned seating, so it's your section. So you get there and and find the space to sit down. More of our group.
We wanted to show this picture. It was from a production of Aida, and the supernumeraries of, especially in Aida, are numerous. And here they are on the very top steps, and this is in back of the stage. So they use really all parts of the structure to stage the opera. And I believe this one was what we call, it was the more modern production, which I kind of affectionately called Cirque du Soleil meets Star Wars.
Yes. This is another production of Aida, I think.
Yeah.
Or is it the same one? Is it the same?
That's the same one, isn't it?
No, I think this is a more traditional
That's the Zeffirelli one.
Thank you.
Oh, that's the Zeffirelli.
Thank you.
That's right. Thank you, George. This is a staging that they premiered about 3 or 4 years ago of Nabucco, which it blew my mind. They created this Milanese villa, and they staged an entire battle. And by the way, let's pause here for a minute. So that's the set. So there's the stage, and then all about that, maybe about a quarter of the stone steps of the round arena are also allocated to the stage. And often that picture that Lisa had of the supers from the Aida production, they're up there. The action is going on up there on the steps as well. I believe in this battle, which was a battle during the unification of Italy, they were recreating in this particular setting of Nabucco. I think that the soldiers came down and started shooting each other on the steps and then came down onto the stage. But then when we got to, is it the second or the third act? The second act, and the building rotated, and they reproduced the interior of La Scala right there. So
it really took our breath away. I'll never forget when they opened it up.
The audience applauded the set at that point. The opera had to pause while the audience applauded the set.
And that was from Carmen. So we had a real bull. I was pretty impressed by that. And this is from La Traviata.
Traviata.
They opened it kind of, looking back at, what would be the funeral of Violetta.
And this new staging as well was Zeffirelli directed it, and then he died a week before it opened.
Yeah.
So they actually they broadcast it live. The president of Italy was there, and so opening night of that season of Verona, we couldn't get tickets. It was a televised production in honor of Zeffirelli and his production of Traviata. This is another production of Traviata.
Different production though. Really cool.
This one I liked. Those are huge picture frames and windows, and you can see the size of the picture frame relative to the people. And then Violetta sat on the top of the frame and was lifted up by a cord when she was singing.
Sempre libera. I'll never forget that. I was like, wow, how is she doing that? Yeah.
Turandot.
Yes.
And here is the classic production of Aida that they do every year in their season. So they'll often, so we've already shown you some other pictures. They'll do other productions of Aida as well, but every year they will do.
I thought that was the Zeffirelli one.
No, that's the 1918 one.
18. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's see, where are we? Page down. Okay, and I think
this is the remnant of the third wall. And I happened to get a really great shot of that, right at just dusk with the lights on it.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll throw in one quick thing on that last picture. It made me think of it. We were there one summer when there was what they call the convergence of the planets. And we were sitting in the arena and we could see 5 planets lined up in the heavens above the arena in a beautiful night like this. It was just so breathtaking. So we are very blessed.
It is. It's an amazing venue to see opera. I can remember going once when I was young and seeing a production of Turandot. I remember this so vividly. And on the set, they had built an artificial moon that rose during Nessun Dorma. So this set moon was rising over the set, and the real moon was overhead. And as I must have been 16 years old, I was like, wow, look at that! It was just incredible.
You know, I sang in the chorus at the arena.
Sorry, Madeline. I was just going to say, I went when I was 22 with my husband, newly married, and we saw Franco Corelli, his very last performance as Don José in the Carmen. And we were sitting right up round the back of the orchestra, so we could look directly down at the conductor and the prompt. There were 2 prompts, and it was the most fascinating experience. I've never forgotten it. Stunning.
Oh, amazing. Madeline, what's your story? Matt, tell us.
When I was 25, I sang in the chorus at the arena. So that was really something. You know, I just spent the whole summer there we did a Bohème, Othello, Aida, and another Shakespeare. What the heck? I can't think of it this moment. I'll remember.
I'm sure we all have memories, and we hope that when you join us that you'll have your own memories. Let's quickly move on then to just show you some glimpses of some of the venues that we perform in. I think we've mentioned this at some point. So during our 3-week program in Verona, every student has public performance opportunities. Every student will perform in every one of our 3 concerts. We do a concert at the end of every week. The first concert is sacred music, and the next 2 are arias and scenes. And every student will perform in every concert. So we want to just put up some pictures here and just show you some of the venues that we have performed in over the years. So this was
Monselice.
We took buses there. This is the lobby of the grandest hotel in Verona. This is San Giorgetto, a little chapel off Piazza Sant'Anastasia, just this tiny little place that's currently it's closed for renovation right now, but it's a lovely place to perform. And these are public performances. They're free of charge. We invite the public. We advertise at the tourist office in Verona. We advertise to the Verona community on social media, and we've had full houses, and it's, as I said, it's free of charge. And I think I mentioned this in my opening comments. Many participants, their families come over, especially for our final concert, because then they take the next week or so and they tour Italy as a family. So and it's
they come to our last opera with us as well.
Yeah. And they come to our final dinner, that kind of a thing. So yeah, we love to bring your families into our Opera Viva family. So it's just some of these must all be the girls who were singing pants rolls, I'm guessing here. There's Owen finishing off his aria. Look who's there's Liz again. And this is San Giorgio in Baida, one of the churches where we did our sacred music concert. And Gerardo, that's all we'll say about that. This is a Palazzo Camuzzini, this beautiful salon in this home in Verona. And here, I think that you can see the room better in this shot. Just this gorgeous room with this marble floor and that beautiful fresco on back. There's little doors on either side. You can see one there on the left, and then so our singers come enter and exit through those doors. It's just a lovely place for a concert. This is Anastasia. Just gorgeous as well. Oh, there's Gordon again, with the singers demonstrating that they have really taken on board the learnings from his movement class.
That's the downstairs space in Due Torre. Really interesting decor.
It's a 1920s Art Deco murals that somehow over the years were covered up and plastered over. And when they went to renovate the hotel in, I think it was in the 1980s, they suddenly discovered these amazing murals on the wall. So they renovated them, and they just have this. It's a meeting room, to be honest, and it's a fantastic performance space. So I think we're there every year now.
Mm-hmm.
So there we all are at the conclusion of one of our concerts. This was a concert we did at a villa just outside of the city. That's a villa owned by the woman who owns the residence where we live, and she graciously offered for us to do a concert there for the town. And it was all set up with chairs, and you can see this carpet was laid for our stage, and the arches of her loggia behind us, just an amazing setting. I think, Gerardo, how many bugs were eating you as you were playing?
I was just going to say that.
Of course,
holding the pages.
It's daylight in this shot, but we performed at night, so it's dark and we have spotlights. And Gerard, of course, has the light on the piano, and so he was just a feast for all of the mosquitoes. This is this Sanfermo, so it's the lower church of an amazing church in Verona, and we did a sacred music concert there. This is part of that concert, so this is the other view. In that previous picture, we were looking down from the front back, and now this is where the altar and where we're actually performing. This is one of my favorite stories. That's Gerard. You can barely see him. This is the organ at San Tommaso in Becket, and we had a little bit of a mix-up one year with our concert venue, and we were scrambling to find an alternate venue. We walked into this church, and the priest said, "Of course you can do a concert here." And he said, "And by the way, that organ up there, do you know that when he was 12 years old, Mozart did a tour of Italy with his father, and this was one of the two places where he performed in Verona, and he was already so well known. He was mobbed when he arrived at each venue and got out of the carriage. The story about him arriving here at San Tommaso Becket was that the priest had to form a barrier to hold the crowd back and let him and his father alight from the carriage and get in so he could perform on this organ. Now he's 12 years old, so what do you think he does? He carves his initials in the organ, which you can sort of see there, WSM, Wolfgang Salzburgensis Mozart, which is how he said his name at 12 in Latin. And it's still there. So that was just that. I love, that's one of my favorite memories. The things you find out and the history that surrounds you everywhere you turn in a place like Verona. Continuing, there we go, some more pictures. Our esteemed faculty after a concert. As you've already heard, we work hard for our 3 weeks in Opera Viva. We have concerts, three concerts. We go to the arena. We have, our days are filled, but there is free time during the weekend, and often students, as I've already mentioned several times, will stay a few extra days, have their family or their friends or their sisters join them, and there's so much to see, which is just a stone's throw away. So just a few shots. We go to Venice. Here's a big group of us who went to Venice one day together. That's the Rialto Bridge in Venice. Venice is just one of my favorite places. There I am in a gondola. Here's some of the girls demonstrating their fan technique in front of the Bridge of Sighs. This is Lisa on a boat in Lake Garda with the castle behind her. That's always
actually on my birthday. Actually,
I think it was. There was a celebration. A longer trip that isn't always possible during the session, but one weekend, some of our students took the train down to Rome, stayed overnight in Rome. So this is them celebrating the fact that they in front of the arena. The Colosseum. This is Milano. This is a day trip to Milano, and that is La Scala. So Emily was pretending this was her debut at La Scala there on her trip. What else have we got? Oh, and I mean, that's just a taste. That is a taste of the things that you can do on your free time, in your free time. So, and here we are.
Here we are, your tour guides.
Here we are, your tour guides.